Hello and welcome to Science Fiction, Race, and Racism, a video blogging channel about the most famous and influential works in science fiction and how they deal with issues of race, ethnicity, racism, prejudice, and intolerance. Both the best and the worst, the most groundbreaking and insightful, and the most callous and clueless. Science fiction has a long history of both being opposed to racism, prejudice, and intolerance, but also of conscious or unconscious racism. Sci-fi fans, authors, and works are often said to be above, beyond, incapable of, and far past any prejudice. That is often the appeal of sci-fi, especially the most utopian works. Sometimes a sci-fi setting, story, or theme can be another way to comment upon, critique, tear apart prejudice and hatred. For others, sci-fi is pure escapism, a way to get away from such issues. Sometimes this backfires. The most escapist sci-fi works are often the most racist. Sometimes the same three approaches or beliefs coexist within a work of sci-fi, within an author, or a sci-fi fan. My name is Al Carroll. I'm Associate Professor of History at Northern Virginia Community College. I teach American, American Indian, and Latin American history. I've written mostly about wars, veterans, human rights, and genocide. I've also written some science fiction, mostly alternate history, including a sci-fi alternate history book, The Man in Black, the first of a series. The Terminators series became one of the most popular in sci-fi history, the best known of all time travel stories that, along with Back to the Future, introduced time travel paradoxes to a mass, non-sci-fi audience. For some, they are straightforward action and nothing else, but they have a humane sensibility and a humanist and a human rights heart. After all, the central part of the story is the effort to save humanity from nuclear war, caused by out-of-control technology and artificial intelligence. One of the central messages of the film is that humanity must be protected. It fits that we see repeatedly the films going out of their way to avoid racism, which is a strange irony. The Terminator is played not by just a white actor, but not just one of Germanic background, but the son of an outright Nazi party member. Schwarzenegger later had his own history of racism. He was elected California governor on the platform of, quote, "The Indians are ripping us off." But all of that was in the future, still unknown in the first several films. Each Terminator film did something unusual for action films, especially in the 80s when the series started. Its disposable villains avoid the usual cliches of black gangs or Latino drug dealers. The first villains, and also victims of the Terminator, are white punk rock kids with knives, shown as loud but stupid. In the second film, the first villains are far more fearsome white biker gang members. In the first two and the last Terminator films, Latinos are depicted as natural allies to save humanity. The first film ends with Mexico depicted as a safe haven, not only from the law, but from nuclear war. In the second, Sarah Connor seeks out Enrique Salceda and his family. They are Guatemalan arms dealers. In most films in the 80s, they would be shown as part of drug cartels, but they clearly are not. They live in poverty and hide in a remote desert. Guatemala in the 80s went through a genocide, one financed and trained by Ronald Reagan. Who better to help save humanity than genocide survivors? In the second film, a teenage John Connor wears a Public Enemy shirt. Not only does that ID him with the most confrontational and political black rap group of all time, it also refers to his fugitive status, and that a cop is the villain. The film takes its anti-racist message farther, with a black scientist shown with a traditional nuclear family who helped the Connors destroy artificial intelligence technology which will doom humanity. Finally, at a time in which gang violence was high and violence glamorized on film, the film was widely praised for its restraint. Its characters refused to kill. This Terminator shoots only to wound. In the third Terminator, Rise of the Machines, a white woman right out of an Aryan youth racist fantasy is the Terminator sent back in time. This was deliberate, that she would be less conspicuous, can move about easier, and is less likely to be stopped by police. The strong implication is that Skynet was very aware of human racism and used that knowledge to design its next model. It's also obvious they understand human lust and use her attractiveness to fool men. Salvation and Genesis were widely considered the worst of the Terminator series, yet they do expand on an idea mentioned in the first film. Skynet runs death camps, humans doing forced labor until they are exterminated. modeled on the Nazi Holocaust concentration camps. In Terminator Dark Fate, the Connors again take refuge in Latin America. They hide out in Guatemala, the same nation as Salcedo's family that aided them in the second film. Two new main characters and many others are Latinos in Mexico, including both the future resistance leader and a Latino-looking Terminator sent to kill them all. Brief mentions of border politics led to campaigns by racists to attack or downvote the film online. But the general consensus was this was the equal of the first two films, though some were simply tired of the series because of the three previous bad films. This is the end of the 14th video. Please repost freely, like, and share. This has been Science Fiction, Race, and Racism video blog and channel. Look for the alternate history series, Latin American Victory, and an earlier series, What If Natives Won, and possible future history series on history, sci-fi, or music. We have one more video, which will be on the Starship Troopers film series, and that will be the end of our series.